Welcome back, everybody, for episode number 56 of the From the Stands podcast, coming at you on this 15th day of March on a Saturday. I'm just kind of chilling, just kind of chilling at Fezzi's house right now,
Yes, sir.
watching some college basketball tournament time right now. But after an extended period of time of technical difficulties, we're coming at you once again. We had some problems with Fezzy Boy's camera and everything. We're about an hour later, we're live. So we're
way
back.
Longer than an hour. We've literally been jamoking around for
scale 1 to 10. How frustrated are you right now,
dude? I don't think there's a scale in the world that could measure, because it's literally every time we do something in person, something goes wrong.
Yeah,
even if it's worked before, that's the most frustrating thing. Like, it's literally worked before, and yeah, we're about to find another.
We spent
program.
like 30 minutes trying to fix the audio. We fixed the audio, and then your camera just doesn't want to work.
Yeah, my camera was just like, yeah, you can't hook your phone up to your laptop, which you've been doing multiple times throughout this past year. But I digress. That's whatever. We're here now. We're about to give you guys a good episode because we are a little late. Life got busy. Our wives actually went out on a date, but that means I had to watch our son. So we weren't able to record Thursday night, and then last night Sammy Boy was a little busy, still probably working on his house and everything.
I'm very excited for that to be done. I just have to do the floor, really. It's the last big thing I have to do, but just little things here and there that need to be kind of addressed before that goes in. But yeah,
exciting stuff. You had another exciting thing happen this past week.
Yeah,
I know you were kind of downplaying it when you got here, but I still think it's like super cool, dude. Like, this man, and Sam will tell you who it is, but iconic. Like, some people will just be like roll their eyes because all they can think about is like LeBron or MJ or something like this guy transcends like the word icon in the world. So I'll let Sammy Boy kind of take it away here.
Yeah. I saw Ronaldinho in person this week. So the reason I was downplaying a little bit just because I wasn't like super close or anything like that,
right.
But I had seen that morning. So for those of you who don't know, we actually talked about it on the podcast before. But he's a part owner in the Triumph. Super random. Not sure really why he's investing in the Greenville Triumph, but whatever. That's awesome for us. And so he was going to be where there's a new stadium going in Malden, which is like 5 minutes from my house, which is going to be pretty hype. But they had like a groundbreaking ceremony where they get the shovels and they pretend like they're overturning dirt or whatever. And I saw that morning that he was going to be there, like special guest Ronaldinho. I was like, dude, this is hype. And they waited like super long. I don't think they announced it till the night before.
Oh wow.
So I was like, dude, this is like, there might not be that many people there. So I still had to work that day, obviously, but it was like it dropped perfectly into where like there's a pretty big gap of where you can take your lunch. But I was like, yeah, I'll just do that. Me and a buddy from work went down there. It was only like 5 minutes from our work too. So weren't that many people. Like, there was a good crowd of people there. Like, they had a tent set up and the Triumph bus was there and stuff.
Yeah.
But not that many people for like a Ronaldinho sighting
at
all. So kind of just walked in there. Like, there's a few chairs under the tent. And he was obviously front row with all the owners and whoever else there. But probably 5-6 rows between me and him. Wasn't able to get a good picture really, which I was really bummed about, but I mean, he was 15-20 feet away from me.
That's crazy, man.
Absolutely insane. But like you were saying, I mean, the guy just transcends. Like,
so cool.
Like,
man.
I told you in text the day of, I was like, he's more famous and more iconic than like 98% of American athletes. Like, more people know of him and like love him than like probably like outside of like maybe a LeBron or like somebody like that over here. Like, he's going to be bigger than all those guys. And it was cool to see a lot of the reaction around him as well. So it was cool to see a guy like that. Pretty crazy. So
yeah, dude,
definitely grew up watching his skills, YouTube videos and stuff.
Sure.
Insane.
Yeah, dude, like, so iconic, so cool. There was also some other people. There's a girl at my church that runs His Turn, the soccer thing.
Yeah, I saw that they posted something about that.
And some of the kids got to walk out with him at that thing, which was
he
like,
went to the game that night too.
Yeah, so that was super cool, just seeing like the kids' faces, like seeing like the fact that kids in this generation still know who he is. Like, that's how iconic he is. Like people just from multiple generations all over the world know who he is. And like you were saying, like 98% of the athletes here don't hit that level. Like maybe LeBron, Steph, like they're world known, but like this guy, like you just know who he is across all sports, all ages, all every people knows who he is.
It was funny too, because I texted one of my boys back in Romania. I told him that I might be seeing him today. It was before I saw him. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, he's had some legal troubles in the last couple of years. Like he went to prison. I don't know if even you knew that.
Ronaldinho?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he was like, he only for a couple months or something. But he's like, oh, interesting. From jail to investment or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Super funny the way he put it.
It's definitely like, I mean, I don't want to like overplay it, but like it's definitely more of like a Ronaldinho invest in like the soccer, grassroots soccer of like America. Like I'm sure like, it's not just like the Greenville Triumph. It was probably like U.S. soccer as a whole in America.
Right.
Like was trying like, cause like Jamie Vardy, like he's not as big as Ronaldinho, obviously, but like he's pretty well known in his own respect. But like he's a investor in the Rochester Rhinos.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I bet there was like an initiative that U.S. soccer did where they're like, let's just like reach out to a bunch of different like former Prem players and just like, you know,
it is very random to see some of the bigger players like invest in the teams that they are. I'm like, why are you doing like, they may just be looking for like an excuse to come to America, like on a free flight, maybe like some, I don't know, but like, yeah, it is definitely a little weird. Like we're in the third division, bro. Like Ronaldinho doesn't care about third division, like U.S. soccer. Like, come on,
facts. But I don't know, Pro Rel. We're always the top of USL 1.
That's another reason.
We could easily get in the championship
team
when they implement that new league.
And that may be another reason to invest too. Like with the new league coming in and everything, like there's going to be possibly an opportunity for the USL, the new format they're rolling out to maybe become bigger than the MLS in the next 10, 15 years. So
definitely
that may be what he's seeing as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Dude still doesn't know English. Like he's still like, speaking Portuguese the whole time.
Yeah. I saw his Instagram post and I was like, you definitely had someone else write this. There's no way this is what you're saying right now.
It was cool he pulled up to the game too. That was pretty hype.
He probably could have walked out there and still schooled everybody.
Oh, bro.
He could have started for the Greenville Triumph and like scored 4 goals.
Oh, dude. He's played until he like few years ago. He was in his 40s, I think, when he finally
just charity matches here and there. But yeah, no, definitely super, super cool moment. Super happy for Sam being able to do that. Very quickly here, I didn't tell Sam this story because I wanted to get his actual reaction, but I have I guess since this is kind of the segment where we just say what's new with us, I thought I'd tell a funny story that happened to me last weekend. So my dad, I'm a huge fisherman. I love fishing, bass fishing specifically. And so my dad, when he was here a few months ago, he bought me a canoe because he just like out of the blue wanted to get me a canoe. So last weekend was the first time I took it out. I was like, it was kind of a trial run. I wanted to see.
You don't have a boat, but you have a canoe?
I have a canoe with a trolling motor on it, and that'll be crucial to the story. But yeah, I have a canoe with a trolling motor on the back. And so I went out to the lake that's like 1 minute away from our house, Lake Robinson. People in Greenville will know where that is. But a very nice, tiny little lake. But anyways, I got out there and I had charged the battery for the trolling motor the night before. But anyways, I get out in the middle of the lake, wind's blowing super bad, trolling motor dies. And Sam will understand this because we worked construction together. But so on the back of my canoe, I had a 2x3, not even a 2x4, a 2x3 stretched across. So I had the trolling motor hooked to that. I had to paddle all the way back with a 2.5 foot 2x3.
No way.
All the way. And for people who don't understand,
you didn't even bring a normal paddle?
I didn't have a normal paddle, dude, because this was a trial run. I just was merely taking it out. I did a little fishing, but I was merely just taking the boat out because my dad bought it. And I was just like, I need to get this out. Like it's been sitting in my yard for like 6 months. I was like, I need to use this now that
you've had it for a while.
I've had it for a while. Okay. He bought it
last summer.
Yeah, when Owen was born. He bought it when Owen was born. So yeah, 6 months ago. But yeah, so I'm stuck in the middle of the lake, wind's blowing, and just like in my head, there's not so nice words like in my head coming out. Maybe if you slipped out
was
regardless,
this 2x3?
But it was only like 2.5 feet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I have like this 2.5 feet. Like, and for context, if you guys are wondering, like a 2x4, it's like as thick as your phone is. Like not like the width of your phone screen. Like that's when I'm paddling back. It took me an hour to paddle back. My wife texted me. She's like, hey, lunch is ready. I was like so mad. I didn't even text her back, but like I got back to the dock and I was like, hey, it just took me an hour to paddle back. The trolling motor died. I'll be back soon because I wasn't supposed to be out that long. And so
you didn't have your phone on you?
I had my phone on me, but I was just so mad that I was just like, I'm not gonna even bother texting her right now, explaining. I'm just gonna get back because I was in the middle of the lake when it first happened. I was like looking for boats. I was like, I'm gonna have to swallow my pride, have someone pull me back. No boats, nothing, absolutely nothing. And then I was just like, what do I paddle back with? So I just detached the 2x3.
Was that Saturday?
It was Saturday. Yep. And so I paddled all the way back with a 2x3. And that night I was just like,
where do you even find a 2x3? It's not like you can just go to Home Depot and just buy one.
I built my my old what was it, the golf simulator backdrop with the 2x3, and I used that on the canoe because again I was just going out.
Funny, dude.
But yeah, that's what happened to me, unfortunately.
So you should have come to basketball.
I should have come to I thought that. I literally said that out loud. I was like, this is so freaking stupid. I should have just gone to freaking basketball. This is so dumb. I literally was saying that out loud, like in the lake. Like no one was around to hear me. I was just like, dude,
I've done that before. Where you get in a situation like that, there's nobody around. You just audibly you're
just like, dude, this is so stupid. Yeah. Like you just hate life.
I'm an idiot. Like,
and I was literally like cursing the fact that we don't have a lot of money. I was just literally like, I'm out here in a stupid canoe because we don't have freaking money. This is so freaking stupid. I was so mad, man. So mad. But anyways, that's my funny lake story for everyone to laugh at now. I laugh at it now because it's funny now that I'm back home. But literally, the wind was blowing back into the dock. If it was blowing the other way, I would have been out there for like 3 hours waiting for a boat to drive by.
And
it would have been bad.
That's tough.
But anyways, going a little long on this intro. Really quickly, wanted to switch gears to a shout out. I was talking to a friend who was in town this past weekend, Jathan Eiler. He said he would start listening to the pod, so just wanted to shout him out. Jathan, I hope you're listening to this at some point. I did not throw any golf in here. Jathan's
we don't know anything about golf.
Big golf lover, but I will do a little research and start talking a little bit about golf. I don't know if it'll be a full-blown segment because we just don't watch it all the time. But
I know the name, like some of the big names, but like I'm not going to be able to analyze like the shots and like who does this and that. Like, sorry, brother.
Currently, the Players Championship is going on. The PGA Tour. It's round 3 in progress. I don't even know these names. I know who's tied for third right now. Zalatoris. I know that one. McIlroy is in
McIlroy's always in the top 5, but never wins. That's what I know about golf.
Never. But other than that, those are the only names I know in the top. Technically 3, but Smalley and Spawn are tied for first with 11 under. So definitely will watch that a little bit.
Shimmy up if Scotty Scheffler or Ricky Fowler are doing good. That's about all I know.
Facts. That's about. But Jathan, I will do a little more research and I will get into it. I watch more YouTube golf than anything, but definitely gonna have to get into that for sure. But with that being said, we got a good lineup for you guys. We're going to kind of fly through this episode because, again, we have been sitting here for like 3 hours just figuring out all the technical stuff. So we got a lot to get to, but we're going to get to it right now. All right, diving right into some college basketball. We're going to take a kind of a recap preview of some of the games in the conference tournaments that are going on around the country right now. We're not going to get too in-depth into March Madness because we have a big-time episode with our boys Peter and Jared coming next week. We'll get that out literally the morning of the first day of the tournament. So it'll be kind of be your guys' like last stop shop for like last minute picks and stuff for your bracket to fill out before games start at 12 that day. We're going to take a look at the SEC, some games finishing up as we speak a little bit ago. We're going to start with the big one, Tennessee versus Auburn. While we were messing around with the technology, we were definitely watching this game. Sam, let the people know who won and how big of a win this is for your Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, man, the Vols pulled it out. Love to see it. Absolutely huge win over number 1 Auburn. I think no, they're not the number 1 team anymore.
They're 2, yeah.
2. But either way, obviously a massive win. Kind of a teetering second half for both teams. I saw Tennessee get up by double digits there, and then Auburn came all the way back, and then Tennessee is ultimately able to hold on here in the second half. But from the bits and pieces that I was seeing while we were fiddling with our technology issues, looks like a really solid game defensively by Tennessee. Every time I looked over, they were just hustling to the ball and everything. So Obviously a really great win by them, and hopefully they'll be able to pull out the SEC championship on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. Good game by Tennessee. It was a really fast-paced game in the first half. It was like back and forth, and then it slowed down. Kind of got a little ugly at the end, but Janiyah Broome went for 23, but obviously not enough to get the dub against Tennessee. But it's hard to Tennessee's in the running for that, like one of the 1 seeds in the tournament, so it's definitely
made a good case after that win.
Oh,
for
sure.
Gotta be over Auburn at this point, right?
Yeah. Over Auburn. Auburn will have a 1 seed. It'll be Auburn Duke for sure will be a 1 seed in the tournament, and then Tennessee I could see getting it.
Bama maybe. Bama if they win the SEC has to be.
Yeah, the other one that I think will be a lock if they win their tournament will be Houston, who play later today. They'll have a 1 seed, and then it's like Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, kind of for that last 1 seed.
So you think Auburn's a lock regardless of their win or
it's
their loss?
Because of their resume. Yeah, I think they're a lock for a 1 seed, but not a lock for the number 1 overall seed. I don't believe.
Okay.
Some people are saying they're a lock for that, but I'm not totally sure.
No, if Duke wins their championship, they're going to be the overall 1 seed.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a little bit. The other semi that's taking place is it happening now?
It's right now. Yeah.
Happening right now. Florida, Alabama, huge matchup. Florida currently in the lead 40-38. This is kind of like we were just saying with this discussion, like this is a battle for like that last 1 seed potentially.
Yeah.
Florida has the edge against Alabama. I think they have the head-to-head for sure in the regular season, but how do you see this game going down? Who you got winning it?
Yeah, I have Florida winning this one actually. I saw their game a little bit earlier in the year, and I feel like it's just a matchup nightmare for Alabama. Florida's kind of had their number this year, and I expect that to keep going in the tournament here. Obviously, Alabama have a good squad, and Sears can kind of take over a game whenever, but I do have Florida winning this one.
Yeah, for sure. I have Florida winning as well. They've just been the better team. Like honestly, I don't know. It's really close between Tennessee and Florida, who I think is like the second best team in the SEC. Obviously, Auburn has the best resume, but obviously Tennessee taking them out. All right, we're going to switch gears to the ACC. Obviously, we keep a good eye on the ACC. Actually, the ACC tournament's I'd say right down the road, but
basically
up the road in Charlotte. Might be heading that way tonight. We'll see. But we're going to take a look at the semis because there's a bit of controversy in each of them. We're going to take a look at the first game, Duke versus UNC. Huge news yesterday. Cooper Flagg going down with an ankle injury, did not come back in that game. His team found a way to come back against, who did they play yesterday? Georgia Tech, who's super scrappy. Georgia Tech.
UNC was yesterday.
I'm so behind. My head's just spinning. I was up at 5 this morning.
There's so many games, too.
There's just so many games. But yesterday, Duke beat UNC for the 3rd time. This is the first time they swept them in a season since 2002. Usually a good game, and this was a good game. Came down to a little bit of I don't know, Sammy, how do you feel about this? Like a lane violation call this late in the game?
Yeah. I was not a huge fan of this. I actually texted you shortly after. I was like, it's a pretty dumb way to end a game. Like, for those of you who didn't see it, Duke was at the line, or UNC was at the line. UNC was at the line with 1 free throw to tie it, and they called a lane violation on UNC when the guy, he did step into the lane, but it's not like he got like a full head of steam like in there before everyone else. He like stepped across with 1 foot and then just like jumped back. Like he didn't have an advantage. So I felt like that call at that moment was a pretty dumb call in my opinion. Just like you're kind of killing the game and just kind of changing the rest of, because like if he would have made that free throw, it's tied, and then you have a good game, and Duke had an opportunity, blah blah.
Right.
So I hated the way that ended, especially after UNC. UNC was down like 20 points in this game at one point, which, to your point, Duke swept UNC, but like every game I've watched Duke UNC this year, Duke has been killing them,
destroyed them.
So it was obviously huge comeback by UNC to even make it a game. But I think UNC did enough to hopefully get into the field with their couple tournament wins here. Obviously a couple upsets, or at least one upset that I can think of that they weren't favored in. So I think that they get in with this. But like you said as well, on the other side with Duke and Cooper Flagg, obviously really, really unfortunate that he goes down in that Georgia Tech game. And like you said as well, like he left them in a kind of like a 10-point hole. So huge props to Duke kind of responding after that, and then also beating UNC without their best player is really, really impressive. So we'll see how they're able to do tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tonight. Yeah, tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, dude, it's all like, because like a lot of the championship games are tomorrow.
Exactly.
ACC is one of the, and like a lot of the mid-major championships already have happened.
Right.
So we have some teams that have already punched their ticket to March Madness. But speaking of which, I know we talked about this a little bit. I think we have a little, like, some different thoughts on it. But do you think, even though they didn't beat Duke, but how they played, like, eye test wise, do you think UNC gets into the field come Sunday?
Yeah, I think they have to. I mean, like I said, the 2 wins that they had in the conference tournament, no one really was favoring them to get those. The win against, was it Wake Forest, I believe, that they beat, obviously beating them as the lower seed. And again, just what they were able to do against Duke, if not the best team, one of the top 2 teams in the country, even without Cooper Flagg. I think it would be impressive enough to get them in. And their record is not bad, overall, but even in conference, they have, maybe a little bit high on the conference losses side of things. I think they have 6 or 7 now. But I would still put them in, especially when you compare, the other teams that are in and around the bubble. So,
yeah, definitely. I would say, like, the way they've been playing the last few months, if you looked at that and, like, eye test wise, you said they're a tournament team, we definitely should put them in. It all depends on, they're definitely rooting for Memphis, because Memphis will play in their tournament championship game. And if they end up losing to Tulane will steal a bid, because Memphis is already getting in. They're already into the field. So definitely a lot to look at that for UNC. Definitely left it really late to the end of the season. I don't think they should get in just based on their resume. It's kind of like I view them as like the Bengals this past season. Like, if you just took care of business at the beginning of the season,
fair enough.
Kind of left it late to figure out.
They lost some of their tune-up games too. I was like,
yeah.
And
I listened to a guy, and I kind of prescribe to this way of thinking too. He does more resume based, so he looks at like quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, like stuff like that, like who you beat and who haven't you beat. And they're 1-12 in quad 1, which is like really bad. And I think they have a quad 3 and 4 loss. And usually if you have those and you're 1-12 in quad 1, there's no way you get in. So a lot of people are saying it was a do or die against Duke. If they lost, they weren't going to get in. But yeah, I think the way they played could definitely see them get in. The committee could. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all objective.
Yeah,
the committee just says they want them in. Like,
you mean
put them
subjective?
In. Subjective. Sorry.
Yeah. We can talk about this next week for sure. We don't have to get into it now, but I think like the quad thing is, like you said, like the word you just said is subjective, because like I've tried to make sense, like, okay, what is the criteria for a quad 1,
right?
And there is no like, all right, everyone can agree that they're a quad 1 team. Like, it's just like, oh, this team is quad 1. Like, apparently it's throughout the season. Like, for example, let's say you beat Duke at the beginning of the season, that's quad 1 at the time because they're number 1 team in the country, and then let's say they have an utter collapse and drop out of the top 25. That's not a quad 1 win anymore. You know what I mean? So like, we can talk about the criteria. And again, this may just me being stupid again and just not following college basketball as much as I should. But yeah, I just think that part is a little bit subjective as well with a lot of the writers and stuff. Like the bracketology thing, like how much of the committee is just paying attention to Joe Lunardi's bracketology on ESPN.com,
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, next game.
Yeah, absolutely. The second semi that happened in the ACC late last night, Louisville versus Clemson. Obviously, we keep track of Louisville because of Noah, and then Clemson by association. Sammy Boy was rooting for Clemson, so he has some thoughts on the late game controversy. I guess we'll just take it there because, I mean, there's not much to talk about the rest of the game. Clemson mounting a good comeback, but falling short at the end. Couple incidences where, foul probably should have been called. But yeah, what say you about a couple of these missed calls?
Yeah, to be honest, I thought Clemson was going to lose the whole time. I almost turned it off late in the second because when they were down like 15 points.
Yeah,
but
that's
then
why I fell asleep. Yeah,
3-4 minutes, they came storming back. Obviously, had a chance at the end. Chase Hunter driving and just, in my opinion, and the announcer's opinion as well, just gets basically mauled by 3 guys.
Yeah,
and obviously we touched on this earlier with the Duke UNC game. Like, I understand there's things that you're not going to call when it's a late game situation like that, but the guy just gets borderline assaulted on that layup, and nothing was called. Obviously, Louisville ball. And then the second one wasn't as egregious, but on the half, Louisville makes their free throws. The halfway half court heave by Chase Hunter again. I felt like, because they were down 3, I felt like the Louisville guy was trying to foul him intentionally.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was a pretty good case for a foul there. And obviously the 3-point attempt fell well short. So I was like, they could have called something there too. And both of those weren't called. Like I said, the first one being a lot more egregious, I would have liked that one to be called for sure. But big props to Louisville. Like I said, they were ahead by basically double digits for most of the game. And I think that they would, either way this went, would, both teams would have been deserving. But yeah, just a tough way to go out. You never want a game to end like that on a controversy. But yeah, big respect to Louisville.
Yeah, super cool. Again, following Noah, I was talking with Jathan and Micah the other day because obviously we all played in the same. Jathan played in the same league that we did with Noah, and we went to basketball camp with Noah. For those who have been following the pod, but like from small town New York to playing in the ACC championship game against like Duke, like that's impressive.
Especially the schools that he started out at, like Detroit Mercy.
Niagara, Detroit Mercy, made his way to BYU, left BYU last year, finds himself at Louisville in this like revival season for them, playing really well, have a good chance. I think they have a good chance to make a Sweet 16, Elite 8, honestly, depending on what their seed is.
I don't think anyone would have really given them that high a ceiling at the beginning of the year.
I know. I mean, if they can find a way to upset Duke again with Cooper Flagg being out, good possibility. But they're definitely one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, playing well, and good for Noah. All right, switching it to the Big 12. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time here because this one's a little chalky anyways. But in the final later today, we got Houston versus Arizona, which we were kind of talking, which is like really funny, but like with just conference realignment and a bunch of teams leaving conferences and doing stuff. It's just funny to see like the Big 12 have 2 teams, like Arizona's first year in the Big 12, Houston's second year in the Big 12 in the final and the semis. It would like 3 of the 4 teams were new teams just within the last 2 years too. But
right. Yeah, that was what I was telling you off pod too, because like obviously as an Oklahoma State fan, that's my conference and everything. So just seeing the bracket and being like, dude, who are these teams? Like obviously we lose Texas and Oklahoma, and then we get new teams in there, and then those are kind of the last 4s, like BYU, Houston, Arizona, and Tech. I'm like, what is this conference, bro? Like it's just a bunch of unrecognized. It's weird Baylor isn't in the mix. Like they were really bad this year, but
they're on the bubble, man. It's like it's scary for them because they went out. They won their first game, but they went out kind of early in the tournament, the Big 12 tournament, and people were saying like, I don't know about Baylor, man. I don't know.
They wouldn't put them in. So a little bit of a down year for the Big 12 this year. So
yeah, definitely. Who do you got winning the game? Houston or Arizona?
Probably Houston.
Yeah.
A little chalky there, but I think Houston's got it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And Houston has a little bit more to play for, like we were talking earlier with Tennessee winning. They could sneak in and grab that last 1 seed in the tournament. So Houston definitely needs to win this game to really solidify.
Sleep on Caleb Love, though.
Caleb Love, man. He's frustrating.
He is.
All right. A couple games going on right now, and a game that finished up earlier, Michigan State versus Wisconsin, and then Michigan playing Maryland right now. Surprising. Michigan State going out in the semis versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin has had a sneaky good season. Like I think they're ranked in the AP poll. Haven't been keeping up with them very much, but the Big Ten's nothing to sleep on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously expecting Michigan State to win today. Kind of wanted one for Izzo. He hasn't won the tournament in like 5-6 years, the ACC tournament at least. But Wisconsin, honestly, Wisconsin reminds me a little bit of Syracuse, like at least Syracuse back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a run like in 2015-16 where they were like a really top seed, but they're like that team that always gets into the tournament, always does well, always has decent players.
Right.
But maybe not that top tier blue blood, but obviously they've got a good squad again this year. Like you said, a little bit under the radar this year. But obviously a huge win against Michigan State, who went in as a number 1 seed. So got it all to play for tomorrow. So good win by them.
Yeah, Michigan State I think is projected to be a 2 seed right now. Yep. I think people are also saying if they won out and some teams lost, they could have honestly snuck in and grabbed a 1 seed, but obviously that's not going to happen now. Yep. The game happening right now, Michigan versus Maryland. I think it's halftime right now, 38-36 or something like that. 34. So I want Maryland to win, but I could see Michigan winning. But Maryland, another sneaky good team, another another team people have as a sleeper going to the Final Four, but we'll see how it all plays
Maryland
out.
also kind of sneaky good in these last few years,
Dude,
but
yeah, for sure. They got Derek Queen, their big guy, dude, super skilled. I love how he plays because he's like not super fast, but he's just so good that like he doesn't get sped up. He plays his speed, and dude, just right. He's on the TV. We have the game on right now as we're podcasting. They're talking about him at the halftime. So, good for him, Derek Queen. I think he played with Cooper Flat. No, that's someone else on Maryland. Never mind. I take that back. All right. Lastly, for the college basketball, we're gonna talk a little bit. St. John's versus Creighton coming up. I think today.
I think it's today.
Today, again, all mixed up with the championship games. But again, St. John's having a good season, great run. If they win out, people are saying they definitely need to be on that two line going into the tournament. But what do you guys say about the Johnnies? I think it's since 2002, the last time they won a Big East tournament.
Really? I feel like they've been good since then, but maybe not. But yeah, I mean, obviously a big season by them with Patino and everything. Yeah, I probably expect them to win this game. But Creighton beating UConn last night, that was a pretty big win for them.
Huge, yeah.
I actually went back on one of our podcasts last year at some point, and our way too early predictions of the Final Four, I put Creighton in there.
Oh, really?
Or Elite Eight or something. I had them going really far.
I think you did, yeah.
So, I mean, I was like, let's go, dude.
Hey,
like,
maybe.
I don't know how well they'll do in the tournament this year. I think they lost a big piece from last year that obviously helped them a lot. But they had a lot of returning guys this year. So, I was obviously beating UConn was a big win for them last night. I just wanted to touch on the UConn thing. Obviously, UConn back-to-back tournament champions. There's a big scuffle after the dunk that Creighton guy did. And like, this is just going to be an opinion piece, but I thought that Dan Hurley talking about sportsmanship after the game was the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Just because Dan Hurley, I feel like he's one of the more classless coaches in the league right now. And like the last time they played Creighton, he was showing them, back-to-back ring finger kind of stuff. I'm like, bro, you have no space to talk about class or anything that Creighton did after you. That was the performance you put on their court. So I'm kind of happy that Creighton was able to avenge that and go to the Big East title game here.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a good game. I watched the St. John's Marquette game, and like it really, really felt like it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and it really felt like Marquette was going to get them, but they just
Johnny's favorited, right?
Johnny's were favorited, but not by much. It was like 4.5 points.
They're 1 seed, right?
2. If they win out.
2.
Creighton, I don't know what Creighton is. I don't know what they're projected.
No, I'm saying
in the tournament. Yeah, Johnny's are 1.
Okay,
Creighton's 2 or 3.
Creighton's 2.
Okay. Yeah, so it's 1 and 2. So
UConn was 3, surprisingly. But...
yeah, surprisingly, they haven't been doing very good. But yeah, good to see the Johnnies doing well. Definitely rooting for them in the tournament. I want them to make a deep run so badly. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the basketball segment. We got Selection Sunday tomorrow, so we're definitely gonna be keeping an eye on who gets in, who doesn't, and who's seated where. I think that's the biggest thing is just seeing where your team's going to be seated this year is going to be huge, like it is every year. But definitely got a lot of teams at the top that could mix and match in the 1, 2, 3, or 4 line. So we'll keep up with that.
Hopping over the pond for a little European football talk, as we usually do here on the pod. We are going to leave out once again the league play just because not too much going on. I believe there's another cup or a couple cup games at the weekend. So the league was kind of put on the back burner once again. But obviously we had a Champions League round of 16 recap with the second legs of those ties going down. We're going to start out with the biggest one of the week here. Yeah. Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid going to penalties after tying on aggregate. Little controversy here in the penalty sphere. Madrid going down, though, before that, obviously that happened, going down really, really early 1-0, which obviously brought the aggregate score to 2-2. So going to penalties, and the controversy was on a Julian Alvarez kick that was deemed to be legal because he touched the ball twice. Obviously not allowed to do that on a penalty, but the controversy coming where I mean, you can't see this thing
minuscule
at all. Like the fact that they caught this in live time, I was telling you before pod, like they had to have had some sort of chip or something on the ball to see this, because even on replay, I mean, you get that camera zoomed in as much as you can, you get it frame by frame, and you still can barely see it. So obviously that was deemed illegal on the spot, and everybody's kind of confused because you can't see it on the replay, really, at least running it in real time. So that was the first penalty that was technically missed, even though he made the shot. And then obviously that kind of changes things. Madrid actually ended up missing a potential game-winning penalty by Lucas Vasquez as well, but Marcos Llorente just beaming one off the top post a little bit later in the shootout, and Madrid end up going through on an Antonio Rudiger clincher. Did you see the celebration after he did his little high step?
He was doing his high step, and the whole team was like running behind him. It was so funny, dude. He's such a character. Obviously, I love him because he helped bring a Champions League to Chelsea like 4 years ago now. So 4
Super
years
funny
ago.
When him and Alaba, after I think there's their not this past year, but 2 years ago when they won a Champions League title, they had like the white chair. They're like holding up. So that was kind of an iconic moment. What do you got to say about Madrid going through here? A little bit controversially again. That's kind of the theme of the podcast episode today. But what do you got to say about Madrid persevering, winning against Atleti in Champions League once again?
Yeah, once again, Atleti's never beaten them in the Champions League. I think they've only beaten them on like one of the legs and one of the ties that they've played. Dominance across the board by Real Madrid. Don't like it. As a closet Barca fan, always rooting against Real Madrid. For some reason, I really don't like them. They all seem a little like pompous and a little like
Real?
too big. Yeah. Like they just got some young player. Like I don't like
Jude and Vinny are kind of like that.
Yeah, like I used to like Jude, but
Jude kind of got that once he moved.
And then Mbappe's obviously thinks he's the best player in the world, and like on his day, definitely is. But you don't have to walk around and let everybody know. Just play, and we'll all figure it out by how good you are on the field. But yeah, controversy. Obviously, it kind of goes back to how I feel about like the UNC lane violation. Like, letter of the law. If you see it, call it, because that's how the game is supposed to be called. So I'm totally with like them calling it. The controversy comes from like who saw it, or like were the Real Madrid players asking for it just because they saw him slip. They were like, did he touch the ball twice? You need to check that. Or like there has to be technology. If the referee stopped the penalties and was like, hey, we're taking a look at this, it's not there. No way. So there's got to be some way.
Apparently, Courtois said after the game that he could hear it when it was kicked. So I was like, because like how it sounds when you hit your 1 foot with the ball. You're like, like he said he heard that, and so that tipped him off. But I'm like, also like I understand he's probably the closest one to the ball except for the penalty taker.
But it's so loud in there.
It's so loud. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it got so quiet where like he could hear it.
Maybe.
And it actually, another thing that I saw that was pretty interesting is like, what alerted the Madrid players was the trajectory of the ball, like how he kicked it. Like it looked like he wanted to kick it down, and the way that it went like kind of up and like to the middle, like told them something. Because technically it hit his foot twice. Like once when his plant foot went down, he nicked it just a tad, and then when he tried to kick it to his left as a right footer, it obviously nicked like his toe or something, and it ended up going straight. So that's also what gave them the impression that it was kicked twice. But just a really tough way to go out. It's not something you want to see once again. But letter of the law, it's you got to call it. If it you're just a beep in your ear or whatever, like if you don't call that, then there's going to be controversy on the other side. So it definitely changes like the whole mentality of the guys that are coming after you. Like they're like, oh man, I really got to make this now. Like it kind of changes that aspect of it, and that sucks. But let's be honest, Real Madrid was always going through here. It's Atletico.
It's their competition, man. The aura that surrounds that team in the Champions League is just, it's insane. But,
yeah, for sure.
Hard way to go out.
Yeah. Next game we got here is my Gunners. Not too much to report here.
This was done and dusted in the first game. This was
done and dusted for sure. 2-2 on the day, 9-3 on aggregate though.
Smoked them, dude.
Smoked these boys over
PSV
there.
didn't even show up.
No. I would have liked to see us rest a lot more starters than we did. Like Arteta's still kind of running out there with some.
Yeah, what were you worried about?
7 starters. I was like, brother, like we could probably run our academy team out there and not lose 7-0.
Yeah,
but,
seriously.
Whatever. Like the Prem is basically done and dusted. So I guess that's why we're leaving some of our guys in there. So Just not too much to report here. Just kind of a lackadaisical game by Arsenal for obvious reasons. So, but moving on to the next game, a little bit of a German derby here. Bayern Munich playing Bayer Leverkusen. Ended up with no problems in this one at all. 2-0 on the day, 5-0 aggregate winners. Like I said before, a little bit of a derby here in the last couple years, but not really that evident on the scoreline here. So Harry Kane putting in a good tie here. He's kind of quietly put together a really good season over there at Bayern Munich. Obviously still a really good striker, forever haunted by the he'll never win a trophy allegations, but I think this might be the year finally that he may lift the German league. So good for them. You guys say anything about the Bayern Munich boys going through against their rivals?
Not too much to say about Bayern, but dude, I think I mentioned this off pod. Bayer Leverkusen, like not even showing up. 5-0 on aggregate.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Like there's got to be a goal or two somewhere. Like you didn't
Absolutely.
lose many pieces last year. Obviously, I think after this season they're gonna blow up because their coach will leave. A lot of their players will sign with like bigger clubs.
Their coach will leave youngs.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's for another pod, another day. But just I think it was kind of just sad how they just didn't show up. Like complete dominance by Bayern Munich, and they've played them tight in the league both times.
Yeah.
And then they just get to the Champions League and fall flat. I know there was like some red cards, stuff like that, but yeah, kind of sad to see them not get at least a goal to make it a little more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, definitely a step back for Bayer this year after their season last year where they won the German league and cup double and almost went through the whole league phase undefeated. You kind of thought that they were going to be the new big rival of Bayern Munich and really challenge them every year. And with Xabi Alonso and basically everybody that was important to the team staying, you thought that they'd be able to run it back and give them a good run. And they played Bayern pretty close in the league. I think it was 0-0, maybe like a 1-1, but overall they weren't able to gather points against lesser competition, and Bayern have a pretty big a gap there over Bayern. Then Champions League, obviously it's not even really that close. 5-0 on the day, on aggregate. So Bayern go through, looking very, very solid going into the quarterfinal stage here. But moving on to PSG and Liverpool, another really, really hot tie here. Also going to penalties, and PSG getting through. Love to see it. I was rooting against Liverpool just because they're the new Man City for me. Obviously, they're up big, and we're in second place again. I just don't like Mohamed Salah. I feel like every other goal he scores is a penalty, but whatever. What do you guys say about PSG getting over on Liverpool? Their PSG is looking so good.
They're on fire right now. You could put them right up there with Barca, who are flying as well, which we'll get to in a little bit. But no, I would say I'm a little surprised just with like the dominance that Liverpool has shown, especially in the Premier League, which is considered, if not like one of, but the best league in the world. So, but again, it just shows that PSG is like doing super well. Like surprised that it was this close and it went to penalties because in the first leg, PSG should have won that game like 3 or 4-0.
28 shots to 3.
Yeah. They should have won that game by a lot, but then the Alisson just stood on his head, and we talked about that last week. But in this game, Liverpool unlucky a bit, hit the post twice.
They had 19 shots, which was quite a bit better than the first.
Yeah, quite a bit better, but like, they were unlucky. There was like a couple of headers that were a little wide. One header hit the post. If it was like 2 inches to the right, would have trickled in. It was just a lot of did not fall their way. Obviously went to pens, and Donnarumma was like huge. I think he saved 2 of them.
Yeah,
two pens.
He is massive,
dude. He's only 26.
I know. I'm saying like physically, though.
I know, but like I'm saying,
yeah,
like
he's young
because he got his start at like 16.
Yeah, and he was still a monster there too.
And I'm just like, dude, he's our age, and I'm like, he's been playing forever. I'm just like, this dude's got to be like 30, pushing 30. You're like, no, 26.
Yeah, which is super young for a keeper still. But I texted one of my buddies at work who's the fellow Arsenal fan. I mentioned sometimes, but I've said it before on the podcast as well, bro. Like Vitinha is so good in the midfield, bro. He's not one of these like new gen midfielders who's like trying to take people on. Like he's not like I don't mean. Obviously, I don't like Barcelona, but like Gavi, who's just like always trying to do too much, like lose the ball, like fouls or whatever. Like Vitinha is so like level-headed, like the game's under control all the time. The passes are brilliant. He knows I feel like his spatial awareness is so good. Like he knows exactly how much space between him and the defender. knows how to like. He's just so brilliant of a player, and I can watch him all day long, bro. He's so good. Told my Arsenal buddy, I was like, dude, I wouldn't mind if we just splashed another 100 mil just to get him. But PSG, I think, are gonna hold on really tightly to him, and his countryman too, Joao Neves, had a really good game as well. Not just this game, but in the first leg as well. So they're kind of developing a really good partnership there at PSG, which is scary for the rest of the league. Pretty crazy that once PSG gets rid of all the superstars, they start doing well.
And they also got younger too. Like before they would buy older superstars, they still spent a lot of money. Like they bought some like tried and true like youngsters. Like they didn't go off of like, oh, you're doing well in like the second division or like at your academy. Like these are younger players that were on first teams, and they like threw a bunch of money at them. So like still oil money, but like their way of doing it is more of like,
their core of 5 or 6 guys are all under like 25.
So good, man. So good.
Which is crazy. So obviously they've got the league and the cup and France under wraps probably
as
already,
always.
But, really solid. Dude, they're scary. I can see them winning the whole thing finally for the first time in their history.
That'd be crazy.
But yeah, moving on to Inter and Feyenoord, 4-1 on aggregate. Really not too much for me to say on this one. Inter just kind of, moving through the gears like Arsenal did against PSV. Kind of had it wrapped up from the beginning here. Obviously the better team here. So 4-1 aggregate win. Very solid for them going to the next round as well. Aston Villa, kind of the same situation here, beating Bruges. This tie was going to need something pretty special to happen on Bruges' part for them to come back. Aston Villa quietly putting together a really good Champions League campaign here, going all the way to the quarterfinals. Struggling a little bit in the Premier League, but definitely a building block after their really solid Premier League campaign last year when they were able to come in third, I believe. So obviously they have a really good attack, even though they've lost John Duran to the Saudi League over this past transfer window.
I was going to bring that move up a few weeks ago because I saw that.
Young guy, 23.
I know
like
he comes off the bench, but dude, every time he came off the bench, they would win because he would score. He was like on some crazy scoring run, even in the Champions League, like against Juventus, and I think they played Inter as well. Like, he's just a big game player.
Yeah, I can 1000% see him, just going to Saudi for like a year, getting buku money, and then coming back to like some other really good team in Europe. So
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Aston Villa, a lot of people don't know this, but Aston Villa have won the Champions League twice, I believe, in their history. Yeah. So not a team that you'd really consider synonymous with Champions League success, but obviously they got a couple in their trophy cabinet trying to make it a third. So
yeah, they look like a FIFA simulated like off season with Marcus Rashford and Asensio there. Like
I like both of those players.
I love them too, and they're playing really well. Like Asensio's had like this past like month or so. He's been kind of on a tear.
Him, bro.
Yeah, didn't quite work out at Real Madrid. He got hurt at Real Madrid, moved to PSG, didn't quite work out there.
Honestly, it's not that it wasn't working out. He just wanted a bigger role, and obviously went to PSG, and that's kind of where it.
Is he on loan?
He's on loan.
Okay, so he could go back to PSG.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think he was just kind of getting phased out by the wingers and the strikers that PSG have now that are obviously doing really well. So
right, for sure.
But yeah, we'll see about that. And then the last tie, Dortmund beating Lille. What was this aggregate score? Do you have that off the top of your head?
I think it's 3-1.
Okay, that's what I thought, or 3-2. I think it was a little bit closer than we had thought.
Mm-hmm.
But Lille obviously putting up a really good fight.
Yeah.
Solid team in France. Not obviously a couple years ago when they beat PSG in the league, which was really, really impressive. But always just a tough team. Dortmund 2-1 winners on the day, and then 3-2 on aggregate. I know that the second goal that Dortmund scored, one of them was from a penalty, and then the second one, Maximilian Bayer with a really, really nice goal. Dortmund kind of dominated the game, not dominated, but had more opportunities, had more possession, which is usually not what you're used to seeing from a Dortmund side. But obviously when you're playing Lille, a team that's maybe a little bit more on your skill level, you're going to have a little bit better of a game. So it's good, impressive win by them. And again, we say this almost every week, but not doing too hot in the league at all. But just that team that keeps on chugging in the Champions League. Obviously, they were expected to win this tie, but they'll go on to the next round feeling good after they beat them. They'll be going up against Barcelona. So I think I accidentally skipped the Barcelona tie here, but we're going to talk about Barcelona. So that was technically the second to last tie, beating Benfica 4-1 on aggregate. yeah, not too much to say here. I'm sure you probably watched the game, but how are you feeling about your boys going up against a little bit of a, a more easier opponent, I guess you could say, in Dortmund, or at least one that Barca will probably be favored to go through on based on Dortmund's league success.
Yeah, no, I love the result and love who we're playing next because we're flying right now, and Dortmund always does well in the Champions League. They're a little frisky, so we obviously can't.
Yeah, they can knock you out like that.
Can't take them for granted at all.
Very
but the
true.
way we're playing, I'm super confident in our chances to. Heck, we might wind up and win the whole thing with that front three.
Maybe.
How they're playing, and our back line doesn't get talked about enough, but they're playing really good defense. Our midfield, young, but they're young but super experienced, just like all those years of us kind of like, we're still in kind of a bit of financial turmoil, but like not as bad as it was, but like those years where it was really bad, like right after we got rid of Messi.
Now you're dumping a whole bunch of money into your stadium. So.
Yeah, and like the year after we lost Messi, like we called up a bunch of kids from the academy, and they were playing like heavy minutes, and we weren't doing super well. So like they really had a chance to like grow and make mistakes because like we weren't winning the league, we weren't winning Champions League, we weren't doing anything. So I think those years were kind of like bad and we were down, really helped to like develop a lot of these younger midfielders that we have, like Gavi and Pedri and all that. And obviously the signings we have, like Olmo's playing really well. De Jong,
the registration madness with that guy.
Dude, like I remember, what was it? There was like a Spanish cup that he was like registered for, but because we didn't have enough money, he wasn't quite registered. Like, I don't know. It was just a whole mess at Barcelona. But no, I like our chances. I do like the draw that we have. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Frisky team in Dortmund coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously there's several teams here going on to the quarterfinals that you could see winning the whole thing, which is obviously what you love to see in these kind of Champions League ties coming up. So we'll see how all the quarterfinal draws kind of come about in early April or so. So very, very excited for that. In the meantime, I believe there's an international break coming up, so that'll kind of suck for a little bit. But we'll have some league games to talk about over the next couple of weeks until we can talk about the Champions League again. But yeah, very excited to see who moves on in the Champions League going forward. So all that being said, that'll kind of conclude the Champions League and the soccer portion of the podcast here. We'll get into a little NFL talk because we are smack dab in the middle of free agency. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. Alrighty, as we said before, we are smack dab in the middle of NFL free agency. Since I'm not even sure really what day the free agency started, but basically since then, there's just been big move after big move, left and right, big time names going to all kinds of different teams. So we're going to kind of rattle through some of them here, talk about a few of them, maybe not too much on others, but the first big one, I guess, that happened chronologically was that Sam Darnold did not re-sign with the Vikings, and he is actually going to the Seahawks in a move that happened really, really shortly after Geno was traded to the Raiders. So what do we got to say about that? I feel like this is, I'll just give my opinion, I guess, really quick. I feel like this is a pretty lateral move.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Geno and Sam, I feel like are very similar quarterbacks. Geno can scramble a little bit more, but I feel like it's a very just, I don't know, like for like kind of, you're trading Geno away to get basically the same player back and Darnold on a bigger contract. But what do you got to say about this? And you think this moves the needles for the Seahawks here or the Raiders?
Yeah. Again, I think it's just super lateral for both teams. Obviously the Raiders are just hurting for any sort of quarterback play. I think we have a group chat with Peter and Jared, and when it came up, we're kind of all just confused by the move, or like this seems like just like a swap of talent, kind of like not really moving the needle for anybody. But I think it did save the Seahawks money. I think instead of extending Geno, signing Darnold was actually going to be cheaper. Geno wanted more money, and obviously the Raiders were willing to give him that to bring in a quarterback that's very capable of winning games for them. I just don't know. I just don't have any options over there right now, for sure. But yeah, the Seahawks definitely need an O-line because we saw if Darnold's not protected, what happens to him. We saw that against Detroit, then we saw it against who'd they lose to in the playoffs? They got dismantled by
Seahawks.
Rams. It was the Rams.
Yeah,
the Rams just absolutely dismantled them. So yeah, Darnold, even though he was kind of like having like a low key MVP season those last 2 games, when they
did him in,
they just did him in, and he definitely lost some money because of it. So
I told you at the time he cost himself like 5 to 10 mil just off those last.
He did. What he signed, like he signed
35.
Yeah, 35.
Like that,
where people were saying he could have gotten like a 5 or 6 with the play that he was
maybe
he was playing with, but definitely lost some money. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a lateral move for both of them.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Raiders get a little bit better as far as their quarterback. Was it Aiden O'Connell playing quarterback for them last season? So they get better at least in the quarterback room there. Obviously, they re-signed Max Crosby, so trying to get a little bit better there. I'm blanking on who they signed. I think they signed a pretty decent receiver too, but I still don't think that really moves the needle too much for them. The Seahawks, you kind of thought that they were kind of going to go into a rebuild after trading DK Metcalf, but they reloaded obviously with getting Sam Darnold, and then obviously getting a Cooper Kupp as well. This came down in the last 24 hours or so. Cooper Kupp staying on the West Coast like he wanted to do after the Rams released him. Still don't really get that move by the Rams, to be honest. I would have kind of just re-upped with the squad that they had at the time and try to retool through the draft and try to go for another Super Bowl run. But obviously they release him and he signs with the Seahawks. At the time, I thought it was a little bit of a weird connection there, but then I remembered that he's actually from the state of Washington, went to Eastern Washington D2, broke a ton of FCS records, all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of like a homegoing for him, which is very, very cool. Obviously, he gets the Super Bowl title and everything, goes home to play for the hometown team. Very, very cool story there. I told you this off pod, but I can't decide if the Seahawks are going to be decent this year or not, because, after trading DK and everything, like their offense looks kind of good, but it kind of looks washed at the same time. Like Darnold is okay against bad teams, but is he really going to be able to move the needle? Obviously, you saw the last 2-3 games of the season last year. You base it on that, your answer is no. And then Cooper Kupp, I still think he's good if he's healthy, but he's on the wrong side of 30. He's 32 now. Kind of over his prime kind of deal. So I'm not sure how much this moves the needle for the Seahawks. Like you said, they need an offensive line. They still have Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he's a little bit streaky for my liking, but like I said, I'm not sure if they're going to be good or not this year. I think their division is definitely accessible, except for maybe the Rams. They could maybe be fighting for a wild card spot like they did this past year. But what do you got to say about Cooper Kupp going to the Seahawks? It doesn't have to be super long or anything. I know we just talked about the Seahawks, but I just like Cooper Kupp as a player. I do too. Honestly, so
no, I like him a lot as a player and a person. Obviously, had that huge Super Bowl MVP game in the Super Bowl and season, Triple Crown that season. Bit of an older player, has a injury history, so I would say the Seahawks, they're going to be as good as they can. They're going to be as good as if they can protect Darnold. First things first, because if they can't protect Darnold, he's not even getting the ball to Cooper Kupp, and then Cooper Kupp has to be healthy. And I mean, those two things, if they can figure those two things out, I think they could have a decent season. I mean, they're really in their division. Their competition is the Rams, who re-signed. Obviously, we talked about it, re-signed Stafford, so they're going to be good. Obviously, Cooper Kupp coming, staying in division. Devontae Adams. I mean, they're going to be good. They were 20-yard play away from beating the Eagles. Bro. We say that I think almost every week, but I mean, it's just the truth. So,
bro, man, I know I just keep beating the horse to death, but if the Rams would have kept him, DK and Devontae on the outside, and then him in the slot,
so good, man, so good.
Oh, why did you rob us of that?
I know, dog. I know.
Apparently, he signed for like $15 million a year, which is, in my opinion, an overpay for what you're getting. I probably would have signed him for 11, 12. So I think that was kind of the Rams, reason for getting rid of him. But
yeah, definitely
would have loved to see that offense for sure. But Absolutely. Next we got a quarterback signing, Daniel Jones to the Colts. Obviously, a little weird for sure. Obviously released from the Giants last year, signed with the Vikings. He's like their third string guy for most of the second half of the season. I guess they just released him. He may have not signed for, I think he just maybe had 1 year on his contract, but obviously signing with the Colts. A little bit weird here because you would think that Anthony Richardson is kind of their quarterback of the future. Obviously, he's been up and down, especially to Colts fans. I didn't realize how much Colts fans didn't really like Anthony Richardson that much until obviously Mikey. But Pat McAfee had some poignant words to say about Anthony Richardson, how they basically just need to get rid of the guy and put their faith in Daniel Jones, which is also weird because, like, why Daniel Jones? Like, it just shows how much, I guess, people don't like Anthony Richardson, that they want to hitch their wagon to Daniel Jones instead of Anthony Richardson. But what do you got about us? What do you have to say about Danny Dimes going to the Indianapolis Colts here?
Yeah, I think like you kind of just hit the nail on the head there. It says way more about Anthony Richardson than it does Daniel Jones.
For sure.
Because like the Colts aren't out there trying to get like an Aaron Rodgers or a Stafford. Like they're not in the play for that. So they signed Daniel Jones, someone who's been in the league, played in the league. You know, give him a chance to kind of have a second lease on his career in the NFL, while, you know, telling Anthony Richardson like, hey, if you get beat out by Daniel Jones, like, there's not a whole lot left for you here in this organization. Like, you got to show us that you really want it. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Just set up competition, trying to pull out like what we all think Anthony Richardson can be if he just wants to be, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think Daniel Jones is a very good quarterback, period, at all, really. So somehow he got the Giants to pay him all that money instead of Saquon. So props for that. But I don't know.
That Duke degree paying off, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, though, if Anthony Richardson gets beat out by Daniel Jones, man. Bro.
But I feel worse for all the Colts fans.
Yeah.
Like if Daniel Jones
feeling good about
Daniel Jones is coming out of preseason and that's like your starting QB, one, you missed on the 4th pick in the draft with Anthony Richardson, but not even because based on talent, because based on like mentality and personality. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like when he's playing and he's balling, he's like so good. He's like Josh Allen size, faster, more dynamic. I think one of the biggest knocks is like not super accurate with his arm, but like has good power with his arm. But then like your last hope is Daniel Jones, like bad place to be for the Colts.
Obviously, this is just kind of a risk that it looks like right now is not really going to pan out for them, because even people around the draft, like people were saying super big upside with Anthony Richardson, but like he played like less than 20 college games, like even since high school. Like he hadn't played a lot of games, makes a lot of mistakes, gets hurt a lot. So like there was a lot of risk with this selection to begin with, and it looks like, at least right now, it looks like it's not really going to pan out for them. But we'll see how the Colts are able to kind of to get through that. I think it's a shame that they're wasting Jonathan Taylor, bro. He's a beast, but they just can't get it figured out really anywhere else outside of the running back position. But moving on to another signing here, Joey Bosa, after getting released by the Chargers, is signing with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Big time signing for the Bills.
Yeah, for sure.
I think outside of him staying healthy, which has kind of been one of his one of the only big negatives in his career so far, I think he has an opportunity to be just a massive boost to the Bills defense. He's a beast when he's healthy. So obviously with Von Miller not coming back for the Bills, there's a gap there on the defense, even though they don't play the same position. But big signing for your Bills, huge. Right?
Yeah, huge. Obviously a Bills fan by association from New York. I was talking to Jathan, who is a huge Bills fan, like ride or die, you know, rain or shine, ride
only
for the
team
Bills.
in New York.
Yeah, only team in New York, basically. And I was asking him about the Bosa movie. He's like, I love it as long as you can stay healthy.
Exactly.
And that's just the big thing. If he is a game wrecker when healthy, but he's got to be on the field. But I just like seeing the Bills organization take a swing and be like, we're going to go out there, get a guy that might be a little expensive, a little bit of a risk, but like we're not going to the Super Bowl because of our defense. It's not Josh Allen, who just signed a huge deal and did not take the money that he could have gotten, because like he's way better than Dak Prescott, but he took like $5 million under that, and he was just like, and I thought,
what am I going to do with $5 million?
Yeah, he's like, what am I going to do with $5 million? And I love that he was just like, figure out how to not affect the cap, and I want that money, and that's what they ended up doing. So a team first guy, and I mean, if Bosa's healthy, it's going to help them out a lot.
Yeah, I think his career trajectory is so weird, because obviously coming out of college, huge blue chip prospect. Obviously, he's lived up to that and then some. But I feel like some people maybe forget about him just a little bit, because his younger brother is so dominant over at the 49ers. So, a little bit of a weird thing there. I was kind of surprised that he didn't sign with the 49ers and go play with his brother. Can you imagine both Bosa brothers coming at you? Like,
that would be scary,
goodness.
dude. Scary.
So, obviously, I mean, he may have, wanted to wanted to sign with a team that had a little bit better of a chance to go to the Super Bowl, because the Niners are looking like they're on the way out. Now that, I mean, we don't have this in the doc, but they're having to release and trade guys left and right because they're going to have to finally pay Brock Purdy. So they're kind of clearing the books for that. Obviously, already traded Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk may be out the door. Possible trade rumors. I'm not really sure if they'll do that or not. And then they just released Kyle Juszczyk, even though they re-signed him on. But a couple other guys I'm blanking on right now on the defensive. I think Dre Greenlaw went to a different team, which was a big time defensive piece there. So we'll kind of see. Be interesting to see what the 49ers look like next season. But another big quarterback move was Justin Fields going to the Jets, taking over that number 7 number, which I saw an edit earlier today. I was like, that looks good on it. So it'd be cool to see him in a new uniform. I've said this before on the pod, but I just hope he gets a legitimate chance, with decent pieces around him, like retool the offensive line so he's not getting beat up. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he has Garrett Wilson and maybe some other guys that are still going to stick around after the last season. Like, I just think on the right team, he could be a really, really special quarterback and run like crazy. I think that if he was doing good at the Steelers, and then you decided to bench him for Russell Wilson. So I just hope he gets a full opportunity to show what he's capable of doing on the Jets, even though they might be on a little bit of a down year as well. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but
yeah, I hope he gets a good run at the Jets too. Obviously he's coming in, and I'm sure they're giving him the expectation of like, hey, if we can get a quarterback, we're drafting him, but you're our guy going forward just for the time being.
Just don't sign a 35-year-old vet and give him the keys after you sign him.
Exactly. I really hope it works out, not only for him, but the Jets. Really like Aaron Glenn. I like what he's doing. And
I like him as a coach as well.
I think what's cool is someone brought this up on a podcast the other day, but they're saying, like, you got to think about Aaron Glenn. He was on the other sideline scheming against Justin Fields, like, I think twice, because they played Detroit twice while Justin Fields was playing.
That's a good point.
And he's like, he saw something when he was game planning for Justin Fields that he's like, this is a good quarterback. If he gets the right help, what he needs, the right weapons, I mean, he's going to have Garrett Wilson to throw to, and
they have other decent pieces over there. Obviously,
good running back and stuff like that.
Second half of the season was tough because everybody, I felt like, just kind of stopped trying, so it just looked really bad by the end of it. But they still have solid pieces. They have good running backs.
Yeah.
They have an okay offensive line. Needs to be retooled a little bit. Garrett Wilson obviously have a wide receiver 1 there, so their defense is okay. Like, they fell apart towards the end, like I said, but I mean, they could be decent if they can get good play out of Justin Fields. So another one we'll touch on quickly is Jonathan Allen to the Vikings. A little bit of a surprising move here. I thought he would re-sign at the Commanders just because of all the good things they have going on over in Washington right now.
Yeah.
But going to the Vikings, who I'm assuming are going to want to try to be another contender this year after their really strong season, even though, like we said on the podcast before, beating up on bad teams to get to the playoffs. But we'll see if they're able to put two seasons together here in a row. So really strong addition to their defense as well. So he's probably going to hope that he's going to be signing for a contender, because that would suck if you're going from a Commanders team that's surging to a Vikings team that you think is surging, but then ends up being trash. So
right.
And speaking of the Vikings, Aaron Rodgers, baby.
Freaking Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers.
Contemplating on the beach wrapped in a towel.
Exactly.
Random person taking pictures at the beach, like not staged at all.
Big time rumors about Aaron Rodgers going to the Vikings. It's really just the Vikings and Steelers right now that are the teams that are in the mix for him. Giants are being mentioned, but like I said last week, I just don't see him going to a bad Giants team. So it's really up to the Vikings and Steelers. It sounds like if he goes to the Vikings, man, he's completing that Brett Favre career arc there. That would be crazy. Which it would be strange to see him in a Vikings uniform after playing for the Packers for so many years. But I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that. I'll mention something in a second, but what do you got to say about Rodgers and possibly going to your Steelers?
Stay away. I don't want him to come to the Steelers at all. I know we were talking in the group chat with Jared, and it's kind of like him between Vikings and Steelers. I saw the day that he really wants to go to the Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings have a better chance at contending for a Super Bowl. Not sure how that's going to work out with J.J. McCarthy, but I guess that's for them to decide. But in the same article, it was saying that he's really contemplating retiring if it's not the Vikings. I was like, dude, please do. The Vikings don't want you. Hang them up. don't come to Pittsburgh. Stay away from my team. I mean, if we got the Aaron Rodgers that played the last 5 games of the season, like, sure, but we're not guaranteed that. I just saw how badly it went at the Jets that I'm just like, yeah, sure, we have Tomlin. Sure, we're a better run organization. Sure, we'll be able to like kind of mitigate the drama that comes with him, all the extra stuff, but he's going to be 42 when the season
what's your
starts.
Alternative then? I'll pose that. Like, who else?
I want Jackson Dart.
You want to draft a guy?
I want to draft a guy and try to hit on a guy in the draft. I mean, and we haven't really done that.
I will agree, though. I'm the highest on Jackson Dart.
Oh, I love Jackson Dart. I also saw that we're looking at Will Howard, which I'm huge on. Dude, not just because he's a Syracuse boy, but like if we got Kyle McCord.
Peter's been trying to sell me on him for like weeks.
There's a not Jesse what's his name? Palmer, one of the Palmer brothers, not the one that was really good, but the one that does the quarterback, Carson Palmer. No, not Carson Palmer, someone else. Jordan Palmer. Yes, I said Jesse the other day and I knew that wasn't right, but I knew it was a J.
He's a host.
But he is super high on Kyle McCord. He ranks in like the 90th percentile in like velocity, accuracy, spin rate, like dude can sling it.
Right.
Now, will that translate? I don't know. I'm not a QB guru, but like, dude, if we got Kyle McCord, Will Howard, I would love Jackson Dart. But if we got any 3 of those quarterbacks and tried to do something, we need to get rid of Arthur Smith. We need a younger, better offensive coordinator, and I think that fixes a lot of problems.
It was funny when he got signed at the Falcons. Everybody thought he was going to be really hot hire, but he's kind of ended up being trash. But yeah, with the McCord thing, like, listen, I can see some of his nice throws, but he sucked at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Sucked. And then he went to Syracuse, and he was, picking apart some ACC defenses, but I don't think ACC is really known for defense.
Right.
And so, like, I'm not a Kyle McCord hater. He also can't run with anything.
Yeah, no,
he's a lot of interceptions.
Yeah.
So I want him to be good, but I'm not sure if the pocket passer that he is translates to NFL in this
probably
day and
not
age.
Anymore. Yeah.
So we'll see. Like, I'd love for the Steelers to draft him for him to be good, but he may end up being a little bit more of a Brock Purdy where he needs to be in the right situation. But
right, and the Steelers aren't like that. That's why I'm saying we need to get rid of Arthur Smith. Like, Tomlin's a defensive guy. Like, we need someone that can develop a quarterback, and I don't think Arthur Smith can because it's just too old school. And now with the way the position's played, it doesn't lend itself towards.
Last thing I was going to say on Rodgers too. Like, I think I'm not a Rodgers guy at all. I think he's the reason I like talking about him is just because he's such an interesting player and personality, and just anytime you talk about Aaron Rodgers, there's kind of a lot more things that come with it, which I think is interesting. But like you touched on just like a second ago, last like second half of the season, like his season stats, like, he threw for 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Like, for reference, like Patrick Mahomes threw for like 20 touchdowns and like, I don't remember how many, like 10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you like compare, like, he's not the same player he was in his MVP years. But I think if he's on the right team with the right weapons, like if he goes to the Vikings, he's gonna be thrown to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Like, if like your offensive line is pretty decent now, like I think if he gets on a team like that, like they can be okay. Like, which we said the same thing with the Jets. Then he had an Achilles, and then their offensive line is terrible. And then a bunch of young guys there just gave up on the season once they had to lose. But I think on the right team, I don't think the Steelers are that team, to be honest, even though you have DK and Pickens. I think there's just too many missing pieces there, especially on defense, like you were saying. But if they could get onto the Vikings, I think he could do decent. And that's the thing, they don't need him to be 2015 Aaron Rodgers. Like, they just need to be the guy who knows how to run the offense, cool, calm, and collected, knows where the ball is going, can make the good throw, like, to the right player, not get sped up, not sit in the pocket for 5 hours like Sam Darnold did. So I think if they were able to get him, that it could be decent. I don't think he's an automatic Super Bowl or anything like that, but I just think people are just like, oh, he's trash, he's washed, get rid of him. But
right,
if he signs with it, if he doesn't sign with one of those two teams, I do think he should retire, because don't waste your time on a bad team. But
right, exactly.
Lastly, we'll just go over a little bit of Cowboys drama here. We're not active at all in the free agency realm with any kind of big signings. We signed like Miles Sanders, like running back from Panthers or whatever. I think that's the most notable signing. Oh, it's so rough.
You guys got a hit on the draft.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that we had one of our big defensive players, DeMarcus Lawrence, signed for the Seahawks, which again, solid signing for the Seahawks, I would say. But basically, as soon as this plane landed in Seattle, he was talking all kinds of smack about the Cowboys. He was quoted as saying, that he knew that he wasn't going to win in Dallas. Like, he loves Dallas, but he knew he wasn't going to win on the Cowboys. So that's why, we in Seattle, like blah, blah. Right. I was like, there's so much wrong with that. Like, and then I guess I'll finish this and then comment on it. Micah Parsons, obviously the best person ever to see this news. He saw the news, clapped back on Twitter that, if he just, I don't even remember what he said exactly. Do you remember what he said?
Yeah, he was just more like, if you were leading better or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. We'd be winning more. And then DeMarcus clapped back to that. And he said, well, if you weren't podcasting so much and focused on winning, maybe I wouldn't have left. So that's not stuff you hear every day from NFL players about their former teams. So first of all, like, I think it's crazy talk coming out of a guy that spent 11 years at the Cowboys. Obviously he was kind of one of our keystones, especially before Micah came. But to say that immediately after leaving, I think he definitely had some things he needed to say after that. But I think it's clown stuff because, one, you were there for 11 years, bro. Like, maybe if you were a little bit better and did some things a little bit better and led a little bit better, maybe we would be winning. Like, what's up with that, brother? So like, why are we doing that? And like, again, if you're trying to win, why are you going to the Seahawks? Like, what have they done in the last 5 years? Like we just talked about, they're retooling. They could have a chance, but it's not like you're going to the Bills or the Chiefs or the Eagles or something like that trying to win a ring kind of deal. So and Micah just needs to stay off the internet. I wish someone would just take his phone and his podcasting equipment away and just like make him just shut up, because like every week now it's something else with Micah Parsons. So need that to go away. But I don't know if you have any opinions on the Cowboys being in shambles as per usual, but
I mean, it's Jerry Jones. Like, he's the guy that has a weekly radio podcast or weekly radio show where he hops on the radio, and
only owner in the league that does that.
Just talks nonsense all the time, and that's going to trickle down. Like, it's more about your brand and building your personality than being a good football player and winning games. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I actually have the direct quote right here, the tweet. Micah, I don't even know where Mike is coming from. Like, this just sounds like he's butthurt right off the get-go. But he goes, "This is what rejection and envy look like. This is some clown crap." And DeMarcus Lawrence clapped back saying, "Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting, more time winning, I wouldn't have left." And like, dude, nothing from Mike after that. Nothing left to say. He's right. Like,
two best players on our defense are like talking like that after he left. That's nuts.
Exactly.
Dude.
So I totally agree with you that, like, there could be a little more accountability, but I also agree with Lawrence where it's just like, dude, it's just like, it's coming from inside the building. Like,
absolutely,
a player saying, like, if you would just shut your mouth for 2 minutes and worry about football, maybe I would have stayed. And like, it just shows like the toxicity, the environment. He was just like, I'm just happy to be out.
Yeah.
And that's why he hops off the plane, hops on an interview. That's the first thing he says, like, I'm out. I'm done. Yeah. I'm happy to be gone.
Yeah, that's been in his mind, for a long time. And the last thing I was going to say on that was really similar to that. It's just such an indictment on the Cowboys. Like, he's not the first guy to do that. Like, Dalton Schultz went to the Texans, and like last year he was talking about how bad it is around the Cowboys organization. They're not focused on winning. All the tour talk that they were talking about with the fans. I forget who it is. Oh, Jordan Lewis. He just signed with the Jags.
Mm-hmm.
Similar stuff to say about the Cowboys, and how not quite as, as shocking as DeMarcus Lawrence, but he's just kind of being like, yeah, I'm kind of happy I'm on the other side now.
Mm-hmm.
Love Dallas fans, but like kind of happy I'm out of there kind of deal. And like, it's so bad when once guys are out, like you never hear about that stuff in the NFL. Like, just guys just completely demeaning the team that they used to play for. And that just shows you how bad it is, how bad like just the culture is, and how it's not focused on winning at all. Obviously, they were able to put together a lot of regular season wins, but in the last few years, but not able to really get it done when it really mattered. And at this point, I just think that everything Jerry says about the football team it's not coming from a place where he actually means anything. It's all about headlines. It's all about, what can we say to get the Cowboys in the news, which that's always been the MO with Jerry. But like for a while, you're like, okay, we can apply this to football in some way. But then at the same time, like at this point, I just don't believe a thing he says about football. Like it's all to garner headlines, to garner more attention on the Cowboys, which is not what you want when you're trying to build a winning football team. So it's tough. Obviously, these problems were there when we were winning, but they're so much more amplified and so much worse when, this last season we obviously didn't make the playoffs, and things are kind of crashing down. We're still paying guys when we really should be rebuilding, and all this. And again, it's with the re-signing of players too. Like they always wait till the very last second to keep the players in there, but they're like no one's gonna ever get cheaper the longer you wait. No one's going to blow an ACL in the offseason to bring their price down. So it's like always ends up hurting them. And it's all to keep the Cowboys in the news. Like, oh, what are we going to do? Are we going to trade Dak? Are we not? We're going to trade Micah? Are we not? Like, and then same thing with CD. And it's toxic and it's ridiculous. It's not how you build a winning football team. And unfortunately, it's going to come back to, or it is hurting us right now. And I don't really think that we're going to be winning for the foreseeable future, even though we have a couple pieces that could have gotten us there. Just with the other moves and the way the organization is run, we're going to be in the hole for a little while, unfortunately. So it's tough, but
enough said. I think
enough said.
Yeah, good little rant there. No, I honestly do feel bad for you guys because, like, again,
there's no light at the end of the tunnel. That's the most frustrating thing. Like we don't rebuild. There's no, hope. It's just, we're sucking for
and it kind of imploded within because I mean McCarthy took you to 3 consecutive 12-win seasons.
Exactly. Yeah.
And playoffs to boot. Like, you fell short in the playoffs, but it's like, okay, let's rebuild off of these really good seasons. But no, it's like, Jerry Jones nonsense, Micah Parsons nonsense. So no, I think you put it perfectly to kind of put a bow on that whole conversation. So we'll definitely keep an eye and see what the Cowboys do this coming off season and the rest of the league do, because obviously there's still some dominoes that need to fall with Russell Wilson, Rodgers, some other QBs going other places, some other players, and then obviously the draft coming up here in a bit. But
exciting stuff. Even in the NFL, no games, but still exciting.
But I think that's a pod, Sammy.
That is a pod.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Sorry we got this podcast out really late again, but we have a big episode for you guys coming up next week, and that one will be on time for sure. But again, we appreciate you guys. If you guys could go check us out on all our platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, subscribe, leave a review, tell people about it. It would really help spread the podcast and get it out there so we get a few more listeners and grow a good community that we can connect with every week. But we'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.